Welcome to John's Tarot. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you're all having a good day out there as we look at the next chapter of the runes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got involved with the runes.
Oh, far out, man.
Yeah, well, they've been very helpful too. All my, sometimes John's Tarot, it's not just about tarot, it's about symbolic language and it's about psychology. And it's about accessing these things to help you move through life's transitions. And I didn't realize that when I got involved with it, but really that's more what John's Tarot is about rather than just about a tarot reading site. As there's plenty out there, there's plenty of good ones out there, but this is more about personal growth, transitions into new life, symbolic language, and how to integrate that into a life. And that's really what I do. I do more of that type of thing. And sometimes it involves
the pain.
Yes, as we look internally, we will run into that. So let me move over to my little page. This is the same runic page I did last week. I got involved with the runes. I've been involved with the I Ching for many years. And it was about how many years ago that I was in my 50s. I'm 68 now. And the I Ching kept giving me this reading, kept giving me that there's more about you than what you realize. There's more about you than what you know. I'm like, what are we talking about here? And if the I Ching tells me something consistently 2 or 3 times, I need to take a look at that. There's something I need to take a look at. I trust the I Ching that implicitly. So I started a bit of a journey. Okay, what does I need to look at? What does I need to see? And I investigated. I, I invested, and that's how I ended up with the runes. I asked it finally. Well, it has to do with symbolic languages. I also did something on I did some work in shamanism. I did some work in spirituality. I asked the I Ching, well, is it the runes? I don't know how I came up on that topic. And I got the indication, yeah, look at the runes. So I started studying the runes. And I bought my first set of runes on Amazon. And, I just started studying them. And I made up little flashcards, as I always do when I learn a new symbolic language. And they gave me some really good insight on what was going on with my life at the time and what was happening in terms of what's going on with my life at the time, movements that were happening, how I should look at a particular topic, what was happening beneath beneath the surface that I couldn't see, and giving me some guidance. And I found it really helpful. And I was okay. And I worked with the runes like that for about 5 years. I made up my own set of runes. The suffering that I had to go through, the sacrifice had to do with time, energy. I think I did a little donation for Odin to I forget to a wildlife organization that takes care of wildlife, and that was my little sacrifice I made to Odin. And the runes started revealing to me their secrets, and it was a fascinating journey. I was doing ambulance at the time, my early ambulance day. And then one day I was, and they give you a lot, you throw the runes just like you saw in my last podcast. You get a lot of interesting information about where you're at, what's going on, energies that are happening beneath the surface, and how to align yourself within that flow of energy. I thought I started messing around with tarot. I had never wanted to do tarot. I said, "Oh, there's so much there. I ain't got time for that. Memorize all that and do all that." That just doesn't seem worthwhile. But for somehow I got into tarot. I forget specifically how I got into it, and I started learning tarot. And I had a pretty good grasp. I had a relatively good grasp on tarot. And I said, well, and I see many tarot readers, what they do is if they need clarification on a topic or a certain card, they'll draw additional cards. And that's a good way to do it. But I said, why don't I throw some runes on that as well? And that's what I did. And oh my God, OMG, my eyes opened up like that. I was like, that much information that I'm getting from not only a card, but a rune, and how integrating two different symbolic languages into one reading really supplied me in-depth information. And really, I said, okay, this is what I need to do. So now, from now on, what I do is when I do readings for myself, unless I'm doing a Celtic cross, I'll usually, Celtic cross, I'll lay out all the cards. If I have a question about a particular card, I'll draw a rune and I'll throw a rune on that card. If I just do a basic 3-card reading, like what I'm going to do today, I'll throw 3 cards and then I'll throw the runes. And you see me do this 100 times on John's Tarot in the past. Lately, I have just been doing tarot on John's Tarot because I don't want to make it too complex, too in depth, and the audience won't be able to follow me. But today, I'm going to go ahead and integrate both. So let me move over to my tarot page. So my question for my ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. My runes right there. So the question I'm going to ask: how is the marriage of tarot and runes? How does that help us advance in personal understanding? That's a good one. And marriage between tarot and runes. How do they complement each other and help us grow? And I'm just going to do 3 cards, and this is going to be a short episode for today. I have a longer episode to work on. I'm putting it together, and that's where and I've been working on the Medicaid stuff, and I take up a lot of my time, and let's just do this. This is what I have time for. 3 cards. How does the integration of tarot and runes help us discover our deeper self? One more shuffle. How does the integration of tarot and runes complement one another, and help us discover deeper meaning? Oh, I like that. How does the marriage of tarot and runes complement one another and help us find deeper meaning? All right, I'll cut, pull out 3 cards, and I'll throw the runes, and I'll do the reading. Excuse me, as I do the runes. First card is the Magician. Just do 'em one at a time. The Magician. The Magician is the card is telling you you have everything you need in order to be successful. When we put the 2 of these together, we are the Magician. We are drawing on several symbolic languages, and you have everything you need in order to move forward. I always like the Magician. I always like the Magician as he stands there on the table. He's got a cup, he's got a sword, he's got a wand, he's got a pentacle. The cup is a gathering of knowledge, the sword is truth, and the wand has to do with balance, and the pentacle, if you could, if somebody will pay you for, remember, everything you do has value. And if you are paid for it, just make sure you are paid an appropriate value for what you're providing. So the Magician, let's throw a rune on that. Odin, free up yourself, guide this reading. In the integration of tarot and runes, the Magician. And this rune is called Langus. Langus is a rune of currents and waves, and the tide comes in, the tide goes out. Even in new endeavors, the Magician, even when you have everything you need to move forward, you have to remember that life happens in waves. It has its own current. It has its own, like a tide. The wave comes in, the wave goes out. You have energy that goes in, the energy that comes out. So even when using these multi-level symbolic systems, remember that your life is subject to the currents of the universe. And then my next card here will be the 4 of Swords. And what that indicates to me is 4 swords is as you're resting and you're gathering information, but you're also reaching back into the wisdom of your forefathers. I think that when we draw from the runes, these are very ancient systems, and we're drawing from the wisdom of our forefathers and wisdom that isn't usually generally available to us today. And that's the Four of Swords. And it's asking you to draw on the wisdom of your forefathers. And in the corner there, you see a little stained glass window. And that stained glass window is that wisdom of your forefathers shining through in order to help you with your issues, with your life as you move forward today and as you engage in symbolic systems. And let's go a rune for the Four of Swords. And I just shake up the bag and I pull out a random rune, and the rune is Berkana. Berkana is the rune of the birch tree. It's a rune of growth. It's a rune of support. I always it looks like the you're being supported by the universe. It looks like has to do with females. You see, it looks like two breasts, right? When you're doing these things, you're being supported by the universe. You're being nurtured by natural forces, uh, obviously ancient forces that we don't obviously access on a daily basis, and is helping you, nurture you, and support you, and give you life as you draw these forces, these ancient forces, to move forward. Oh, interesting. I think it's pretty good reading. And my third card is the World. The World card indicates the end of cycles and new beginnings as we incorporate both of these symbolic systems. You're ending a cycle, or you have in the past maybe been totally dependent upon the tarot as a symbolic system, which is a very good symbolic system. You're broadening your perspective. You've reached the end of that teaching. That teaching is not disintegrating. It's something you're going to carry with you. But as a solo method, you've reached the end of it. Certain things that you haven't understood on your tarot journey are now becoming clear. Why did it have to happen this way? What is the meaning of what has been happening in the past? And all those things will now start to have meaning. The World. And the final rune is called Helgaz. Helgaz is the rune of hail, the rune of disruption. Okay, so you're incorporating. What happens when you incorporate two different symbolic systems like this? There's a disruption in your normal system, in the normal way you look at life, in the normal way you interpret things, and but this disruption only lasts a short while, only like a hailstorm. Yeah, it rains and it's disruptive, but it comes to an end quickly. And it seems to fit right in really with the World card because that's the end of a cycle, the beginning of a new cycle, and that is the disruption. And Helgaz also has to do with washing things clean and purifying, just like a rainstorm would do. Washes the air so clean and it smells so wonderful. That is the rune of Helgaz. So, so how does incorporating these two systems work? Review it real quickly. The Magician, you're going to have all the tools you need, all the accoutrements to help you navigate life. You're moving into a more powerful position, but you have to remember, Lanagu's things come in waves, and you can't be on top all the time. And when you're not on top and the wave goes out, you just take a rest. The runes and the tarot themselves, these are ancient systems of knowledge, of wisdom that you're incorporating into your life, and that the rune Berkana, and they will help support you. And nature and the forces of nature will help support you in your discovery of these different systems. And then the final card is the World. This is the end of being dependent on just one, because you're going to start using two symbolic systems. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. This is just a question I pose to these systems, and that everything is going to now be clear why you needed to make this journey. Why does the information? Why did you have to do all these things? And you're going to the end of one journey, the beginning of another, and it's going to be a time of minor disruption as you end one journey, begin another one. But it's also a time of washing things clean, just like a rainstorm, and you as you and the rainstorm will be last for a little while, and then it'll stop, and then you'll have all this clean ground on which to start on in the future. So, for today, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot!
Well, it was my pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it. I have one more issue in this, and I'll start working on that, and I'll post that up in a couple of days. I hope you enjoyed the new website, the way I have it done. It's more integrated. It's smoother. It supplies a lot of information better. Take a look. Let me know what you think. Get back to me if I need to make any changes. I'm interested to hear any suggestions. So be careful, be cool, be kind. Remember, find courage, have faith, and I'll see you all next time. Okay, bye-bye.